tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
A little bit old to you, but
with that deep into Danny Roll, please don't clip that.
Been truly horrific having this season away from home.
I want goals.
It was nice to have football back, wasn't it?
How poor do we have to be before it's happening? How much blood from this stone does he have to get?
The Wednesday Week!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. Tonight, joining me, I've got John, Stevie, and Simon. All the men back in charge. Sorry, Bernadette. Tonight, ladies and gents, we've got two games to get through. We've got a win away at Blackpool in the Cup, and then we've got an away defeat at Luton to get through, and then the other business that comes with all the nonsense that happens. It's a whole thing. It's all happening tonight. It weren't exactly a couple of classics, although there was some market improvement that we've seen this week. Let's get right into it because there's not a lot going on. But don't forget, boys and girls, you can join in. You can get involved in the comment section. So if you're watching this live, send us your comments. And Stevie's going to be the baby in the booth this evening, and he's going to be pressing all the buttons. And, I'm going to endeavour to see if I can get your opinion on a few things, Stevie, because a lot of the times I forgot to get Ashes every time he's doing the comments, the poor guy. So that's it, isn't it? Simon, it seems like ages since I've done one with you. You all right?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Not so bad. That's
good,
a very fetching hoodie you've got going on there.
It's my grey and tattered from that tat shop, Sheffield Wednesday one. I thought I'd wear it since we talked about it last time I was on.
Ergo, that's why I brought it up. Now, listen, so away in the Cup, not a very exciting tie. They made us wait for it when they did the draw. We remember, don't we? But in terms of the tie itself, what were you thinking? Away at Blackpool, potential banana skin, or just go about our business?
Well, we got Jordan Rhodes there, hadn't we? Who I thought may come back to haunt us. He was the sort of skeleton in the closet I was thinking when we got over there. But we routinely disposed of them in a fashion that wasn't particularly glamorous. You know, I think we all went with an impression, well, we'll move on to the next tie, and that's what we did. But I did worry about Mr. Rhodes. He put himself about a bit, had a couple of goes. And that's where I thought, because they always come back to haunt us, don't they? Ex-Wednesday players.
Yeah, it always happens. Case of the X is a thing, isn't it? John, I'm going to put up the lineup. Stevie's prepared some infographics for us, so for those listening, this is going to be quite frustrating for you. But I will try to describe what's on the screen as much as possible this evening, because a lot of this is going to be quite visual, as you can probably imagine from the Luton game upcoming. Now, John, this is the starting lineup: Charles Lowe, Bernard, Otegbayo, Paul Valentin, Masaba, Sean Fuzaya, Svante Ingolson, Callum Patterson, Michael Smith, and Jamal. Now, that's been very much our Cup squad. You know, a couple of people getting a run out in the League Cup, with notably Otegbayo and Patterson getting a run out, and obviously Pearce in the sticks. Were you concerned when you looked at that?
No, not really. I think, all due respect to Blackpool, we were never going to put our ultimate strongest team out for this one. It's not a priority, although we are actually going well in the competition as we this season. But yeah, it's still a fairly solid lineup with changes you would expect, blooding a couple of youngsters in there like Otegbayo and Fusaya, who acquitted himself well in the last round at Grimsby Town. So yeah, definitely good to see him retain his place, and for the young centre half to come in and stake a claim as well. I thought it did reasonably well. So lineup wise, yeah, no real shocks, about what I would have expected. I don't think Roll ever kind of puts like a complete weak side out and disregard the competition. He likes to have a bit of a mix there and put a couple of youngsters in. So no real shocks for me, no.
Well, with the omission of Charlie and Holly and Ash this evening, they could say the same about this show, to be fair, lads. So, we're fighting for a shirt here, aren't we? Now, Stevie, Masaba starting in the Cup squad, as it were. But like John says, it's not wholesale changes, just a couple of shirt swaps and things like that, and giving some players a rest. Masaba's got a bit of work to do to get his shirt back, hasn't he?
Yeah. And anyone would think that we'd rehearse this, and I guarantee that we haven't. I've gone back, and I was there at Blackpool. I've gone back, and my first thought looking at the highlights was, why is Masaba not looking better against a League One opposition at Blackpool than he did the other night? And I'm not saying that he was terrible, because he wasn't, but I just think he should be performing at a level that's a little bit higher than it is at the moment. And I don't know if that's particularly based on his numbers at the back end of last year. I was not disappointed, but I just expected a little bit more from him last week. There was a lot of flattering to deceive. There was a lot of opportunities. He looked very lively early on, but it was almost what's the saying? I forget what the saying is, but it's related to the fact that he's not particularly got any sort of engine that's sort of driving him forwards. It's just he gets an idea and he just keeps going, and there's no end problem.
Flattered to deceive, Stevie.
Speed don't know drive is the phrase I was looking for. That's just got in my head. So sorry, it's early. It's been a day.
I think the way I'd say it was all fart, no poo. But I get.
There you go. Thanks for digging me out of a hole there, by the way.
Sorry, mate. Go on, Simon.
I think that has been his season so far, hasn't it? He was a little like that against Leeds. You know, he eventually, I don't know whether he runs out of ideas or runs out of steam, but when things stop going for him, stop working for him, he then disappears into the game and you don't really see him. And I think the same for Gassama as well, because we brought Gassama on in the second half and he looked really, really threatening. And then because it didn't come off after the third or fourth time, he sort of disappeared into the centre of park and hid away from the game. And I think that's a little bit of a problem we seem to have with those two lads at the moment. And I don't know what's causing it. I don't know. You know, somebody needs to get into the head to work out why, or maybe try some new things. But going back to the change in the squad, I think Danny's using it to look at the new players that we're getting in. And Olaf's proved that, hasn't he? Because he played really well in these cup games and he's actually broken into the first team. And I think in the first team, he's starting to show why we signed him. So certainly Danny's using these cup games to blood the new players and see what they can give us.
Absolutely. And I think it's there for all to see. Now, John, I've got to, you mentioned earlier on Otagbio, but you've got to mention Sean Fusaya in this in this game as well. Now, I wasn't expecting a cricket score, and it weren't exactly a classic, but it was a case of job done, right? You know what I mean? We're in the app. See you later. Have a good day. You know what I mean? But Fusaya played really well, didn't he? I think he's got the makings of stepping up to the big boys at some point, right?
Yeah, he did well for the second game running. Like I said, he was noticeable at Grimsby. Played well there, and so I was pleased to see him return his spot. And he didn't let anyone down, did he? He did put himself about a bit, pretty well. He's got a quite nice assuredness to him on the ball, which is definitely going to, stand him in good stead for the way we play. Because teams will press us as well. But I thought he acquitted himself really well in midfield there. He seemed to be quite patient on the ball and had a good awareness of other players around him. And obviously a young lad like that as well, he's got bags of energy, so he's putting himself about quite a bit as well. So yeah, definitely some good early signs for him. We can expect to see him again in the next round, I would imagine. Hopefully, anyway. So.
Well, I don't think the draw's until, is it later this week, Stevie, or is it
Wednesday? I think because because of the Champions League, they're doing the two nights last week, 2 nights this week, and then they're drawing it Wednesday night. Sweet
child of mine, what an absolute shambles this is. I can't keep up, but at least we know now that we don't have to tune in until about 10:30 at night. So that's nice, isn't it? Now, Stevie, let's get to. I noticed one of the comments there earlier on mentioning Masaba's, you mentioned Masaba earlier on, mentioning his handball. A bit needless, wasn't it? What's he doing?
It was almost like it was a training game, and he's just decided he's just going to chuck a hand at it. And obviously he's punched the ball into the goal, and there was a feel around it, around where I was standing that, why would you do that? Nonsense, blah, blah, blah. It was a one-off moment. For me personally, the handball was just a moment of lunacy that I don't think really impacted on the game necessarily. It was a stupid thing to do, but I don't think it's cost us anything. I I agree with the sentiment I made earlier on. I don't necessarily think that when he was getting into those areas, and if you go back and look at the highlights, there's lots of Masaba cutting inside and just swinging his foot at a ball, and it's either pulling short of the near post or it's going wider than the far post. And I just think, like I've said before, for me, if this is a guy that we're going to laud and is in and around our first team and he's getting some minutes to maybe get a bit of confidence up or whatever that might be at the moment, against Blackpool on a Tuesday night in the Cup, he should have stood out a little bit more than he did, and I just don't feel that was the case.
Yeah, might be a confidence thing, might be a psychological issue. Only time will tell, I assume. But let's dive into the comments, Stevie. What else have we got that you've not already bashed up on? I'm putting you on the spot here, so I'm just going to pad for a little couple of seconds just to give you time to have a look.
We've had J Blogs on. I think if anyone should feel hard done to, it has to be Valentin. Consistently good displays and always a threat. Kabatsky has been great though.
Yeah,
and
yeah, absolutely.
I could tend to sort of agree with that. And we've also had Sharman on. Props to Danny for giving Diouf minutes. When was the last time we had a gaffer who gave the kids a chance? And I was there last week and I went with Speakeasy and we were having a catch up. And for Sherry, for Saya, lad in the middle of the park, for me personally, he was asking the question as to what does he have to do to get into the first team a little bit more regularly? And for me, I just think he just needs to keep doing what he's doing in the Cup. And he could potentially, and I'm not saying it will be the case, but if he keeps putting in performances like he did on Tuesday night, it's that incremental sort of increase, isn't it, going forwards? There's a lot of potential there. He's obviously very small, very slight. There's a bit of growth to be done. He needs to fill out a little bit, but he's got an assuredness on the ball, hasn't he? He looks really confident. Nothing phases him, particularly playing in the position that he plays in front of that back four. Teams like Blackpool in the Cup are the ideal opportunity for him to sort of get that confidence and get that experience and have a go at playing.
There's like a slow build for him, isn't there? Like Grimsby onto Blackpool and then maybe a championship team after that. Like, you know what I mean? There's a bit of progression there, right? Yeah,
absolutely. I'm not saying that he's going to be the person that will replace Bannon. You know, that's a whole conversation. That's a podcast in itself. But he just reminds me, in terms of his stature, he doesn't play the same way that Bannon does, but in terms of his stature and that person who could, you know, offer a little bit of insurance in front of the back four and maybe get the ball and link up play. I think there's an opportunity for him in maybe not next year, but the year after to sort of, if he can grow the way that he's growing, we've got a bit of potential there.
Yeah, let's hope he fills out. I mean, look at what was that kid's name? Alex Hunt. You know, he never filled out, did he? Yeah. He was the type of kid where his nan was knitting him jumpers, saying you'll fill it out one day, and he never did. Bless him. But he, you know, there was makings of a good footballer in there, and has gone on to be an EFL player. Now, I've got some visual graphics here, Simon. I've got some visual aids, and it's Big Dish putting his goal in the back of the net. Took it really well. Not too shabby, right? Nice bit of breakout play.
It was a great finish from a centre back, wasn't it? I mean, he'd actually scored already with a header that was deemed offside prior to the handball. We were down towards our goal a little bit further, so it was off in the distance. But what a lovely finish! Absolutely lovely finish. And what was disappointing after that is then we didn't go for the throw and make it 3-4-5, and it put it a little bit tetchy towards the end. Because there was a lot of changes in the second half. I think Steve will agree that the momentum went out of the game and we just sort of started stroking it around a little bit and making a few little daft mistakes here and there. But no, lovely finish. Loved every minute of it. Got his applause at the end. Everybody was singing and waving their hands. So, yeah, really good. Nice to see a win for the black shirt that you all like so much and I dislike so much as well.
I must admit, I'm not a fan of the home shirt. I keep trying to give it a chance and I'm like, looks nice close up. It looks nice on the players. Do you remember when England rugby team went for that tight fitting number? And everybody was like, "Bloody hell, what's this rugby?" It looked great on the players, but the fat lads that watch rugby that go to the pub, you know what I mean? You could, had unforgiving, I think the term was. I remember buying one myself, and I wanted to immediately lose 5 pounds as soon as I put it on, but then did so in sweat later that day anyway. So that's nice, isn't it? Now, as Simon says, John, not a lot to write home about in the second half. You know, it was a assured performance. I don't think they really knocked on the door so much, but would you prefer to have a bit of a buffer in terms of an extra couple of goals?
Oh yeah, for sure. It would have been nice to have had that extra goal or two, like you say. It would have perhaps put a bit more freedom into our play. I think even Bruce, who's obviously managing them now, said he didn't feel like we were better, but bigger and stronger. And there's actually some truth in that when you watch the game. And I disagree. We were obviously better, but we were much more physical than them and stronger than them. And I think they just couldn't really break us down, and we just handled them comfortably. Really, I mean, Simon mentioned Rhodes, but Rhodes hasn't been Rhodes since he was at Blackburn Rovers, has he? Really? I mean, it's just that guy's just fell off a cliff, hasn't he, since he left Blackburn.
It's actually, honestly, he was one of them players that got a big money move when he was very young, and then it's kind of had that price tag hung around his neck for a number of years, and it's kind of effed his career a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had one sort of semi-chance, didn't he? He tried to catch the goalkeeper off his line, and it wasn't particularly close. It looked like it could have been for a split second, then it kind of drifted wide, didn't it? But yeah, I was never worried that we were going to lose that game. I did predict, because I didn't know how serious we were going to have a go at it, that it could have gone to penalties. But I think we were comfortable at 1-0, and I think some of these games under Danny, he does pull a bit of a Southgate, doesn't he? When you 1-0 up, rather than let's go for the jugular. If he feels confident enough in the side and how we're defending, he does tend to lay off a little bit and say, you know, we don't think you're going to break us down, so we'll just sit and look for any opportunities on the counter. So the game kind of fizzled out, like you said, in the second half. But I never thought we were in any danger of losing that game at all, the way it was going.
No, I agree, but it's a 1-goal advantage just isn't enough for me. But you know, that's the Germans. You know, and the Germans and the Spanish see winning 1-0 and winning on penalties very much a win's a win, right? You know what I mean? But we want to see somebody get smashed, and that's what happens. You know, it shocks me that one of the best games I've ever seen was Germany smashing Brazil 7-1 in the World Cup, and you're kind of like, how did that happen? The Germans, they don't do that, but turns out they can once in a while. There's a couple of good comments there, Stevie. There's one from Gary Fox there. If you want to pick this up.
I went on mute there. I don't know what happened. Gary disagreeing in terms of Bashiri.
Welcome back.
What a podcast.
Award nominated.
Well, we'll get to that. Don't agree really about Bashiri. Think his awareness of opposition players around him seems to turn into them a lot. And I get what you're saying, Gary. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. And I think my point is that it's having the confidence to be able to go and play, and where it's relatively low stakes, isn't it? To be able to go and do that in the League Cup, as opposed to, you know, maybe doing it against West Brom on Saturday, dare I say. And he's been backed up by BD76, who agrees. Personally, would look to send him out on loan in the January window to get more experience. I'm not against that. I'm not for a moment. No, I'm not suggesting for a moment that Bashiri should be bothering Ingleson, Charles Bannon, even Palmer. Dare I say it? You know, in the middle of the park, if we play that 4-2-3-1 formation, I'm just saying that there's a boy there with a little bit more potential than some of our younger players that we've seen in the past, that we've sort of lauded. You mentioned Alex Hunt as one. I think Bashiri's probably a level up on people like that we've seen previously.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one at the top of the list there from Jay Blogs there, Stevie, about CP, saying that Patterson isn't having the performances I expected this season. John, he had a great game against Grimsby, didn't he? But he didn't really manage to put a stamp on the Blackpool game, did he? Sorry, did my internet cut out there? My apologies. I'm on to Vodafone about it. It's been an issue these last few weeks.
Yeah, I don't know with Pato, because obviously he knows that he's surplus, doesn't he? And when somebody actually says that to you, you know, when somebody says, "Look, actually, you know, you're free to find another club, but you know, we might still pick you here and there or whatever, but you are free to find another club." And then it didn't happen, and now he's back in the squad, and it's like, I don't know. Does he not quite feel the love anymore? Does he not quite feel the motivation? I mean, he'll come on and he'll still run around like Pato does, but I just wonder if it's got under his skin a little bit, the way that, you know, he didn't get a move, and he didn't, you know, he was told that he wasn't going to be playing much, and therefore it's kind of rubbed off on his performances a little bit. But, you know, Pato does have a tendency to come up with a key goal here and there, doesn't he? A key performance, and between now and January, I'm sure we'll see that again. So I'm personally glad he's stuck around for now, but I'm sure the conversation will be revisited again in January. But like I said, I do think he's got a part to play between now and then.
And he's in phenomenal shape as well for Callum Patterson. I know that sounds ridiculous, but God, he looks great right now. I hope it comes good for him. I like the guy, and he's clearly great to have around the players. You know, if his performance has improved, then, you know, give him a share. I'm all right with it. I'm all right with it. Now, Simon, this game fizzled out 1-0. Given the way that the league's going, is a cup run what we want? Shall we just, you know, sod it? Let's finish just above relegation. Let's just have a shitty finish to the season, and let's have a cup run and give us something to scream about, like that year where we played Newcastle at Hillsborough.
I think it's doing us a favour at the moment, because it's allowing, as I alluded to earlier on, for Danny to actually look at players who are on the fringe of the team and see how they are actually in game environments. I forever go on this podcast about the fact that we don't actually have a proper reserves league anymore, like we used to have in the 90s. You know,
it isn't like the old days, is it?
Well,
I miss the old days.
Men's football.
But I feel that if anything that the teams struggle with now is the fact that all you have is the under 23s, you know, and how do you see the players who fringe players actually performing proper game conditions? And he's using this cup to see people like Fuzia. Kabachi is a prime example. I'll go back to Kabachi. You know, he's a prime example. I think the two, Masaba and Gassama, have fallen out somehow with how we're playing. It's become evident in the league games. So he's sort of dropped them, and he's trialing them in the cup games as well to see, probably try new positions to see where they're going wrong, where it isn't going wrong. The decider will be if we draw Man United in the next round or whoever, won't it? That'll
and then we get Barnsley'd. Yeah,
exactly. That'll be you know. So for me, the extra games are good in our current position because we've got such a new team to get us to bond together.
That's a great comment on screen there from Jay Blogs as well, saying cup run's a good thing in terms of winning mentality and gain time for fringe non-starting players. Yeah, because of what Simon's saying, because there's no under 21. There's no youth league, reserve league, grumble. You know what I mean?
Wait, was it the Pontins? Was it Pontins League? It was the Pontins League, wasn't it?
And I think we were quite good at it.
We were. You know, but we had, like, Sheridan coming back from injury was playing in the Pontins League. You know, we used it to bring these kids through. You know, the Webrels, the Newsomes, these sort of players to come through. And I don't think that. I mean, the under 23s under Carlos's era became a punishment. It was almost like Stalag Luft 9, wasn't it? If you fell out with somebody, you got chucked in the 23s. I mean, Hutchinson played there, didn't he? And oh God, the keeper played there. You know,
kids, weren't it?
Yeah, it was like, you go and play with the kids, you go and train with the kids. Forestieri, I think, played with them. You know?
Yeah, that was Joss as well, wasn't it? Sending Westwood and Hutchinson down there as well, getting them told. Let's have the last few comments, Simon, before we move on to the referee extravaganza that was Luton Town.
Simon.
Steve.
Simon.
I said Stevie.
You said Simon. But, you know, we're both good-looking chaps.
You look similar. For those who've never watched it live, they're like, they look similar. They look the same.
We are like, you know, the film Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is what we're like.
Yeah, if you cross that with, you know, Face Off with Nicolas Cage, you know what I mean? Stevie, get me out of this. Play me off.
Jamal has been on. Jamal has been on. Gassama and Masaba will play as soon as they learn how to pass the ball. Jay Blogs has put a sort of a wish list together, if you like, of who he'd like in the next round. He wants anybody at home in the next round, which for me personally, I think would be nice. It'd be nice to have another sort of, an Arsenal or a Newcastle under the lights would be.
I want a big away day. I want Spurs away.
I hear you. I
want a big London away day. I want, I even go to Fulham. That's only down the road and all. I can get a tube there. It's only 2 stops down. Fancy as shit, me.
West Ham.
I know where West Ham is now.
Well, you were too drunk.
Stu Williams, Premier League teams use a paint tin trophy to blood their youngsters in men's football. I have no issue with us using the Milk Cup to do that. In the absence of a reserve team
Milk
or reserve
Cup,
league.
Stu. The Milk Cup. You're showing your age there, Stu.
That's older than Simon.
Yeah,
it is as well.
That's really old reference, that, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
And then the last one, Adam P. I think it will help us later in the season when we start getting injuries. The fringe players would be nearly match fit and playing full games in the Danny system.
The Danny system. I might call that next week's episode. That'll go really well with the rumor mill.
The Danny system.
The Danny system. That'd be quite good. All right.
Sounds like something off Star Wars.
Yeah, it does.
And look at that. He's just blown up the Danny system where Princess Kuntata
was brought. Yeah, you know what I mean? I had a whole sketch there, but it's not the time nor the place. I'm nominated for an award now. I've got to avoid words like Kuntata. Steve, get me out of this. Let's move on. Right. So
bring back Ash.
Bring back Ash. He keeps me on the straight and narrow. In fact, before we move on, I need to apologise to Ash, actually, don't I? So if you watched last week, and this is actually, it's played on my mind for like a week. So the last few weeks, there's been points in the show where we've kind of had like an online meeting, right? And it's quite fun to listen to, and you listen back and go, I kind of like that. I was listening to it. That's quite fun to listen to workings of it while we're having this live on-air meeting. And I thought that Stevie and Ash, John, Simon, honestly, you should have heard it last week. I thought Stevie and Ash would bite back at me and we'd have like a nibble and we'd have like good radio and stuff like that. And I went, you pair are forever apologising. And none of them bit back. And Ash just muttered under his breath, great host, yeah, cheers, Dan. And I was like, oh my God, I've really pissed him off. like genuinely.
Sorry.
It's been up my ass all week. And I've been like, God, I feel really bad about it. I'll apologise for that next week. So we're still good mates. Don't worry about it. It was all showbiz that I got completely wrong. But anyway, let's move on. Here's some adverts. And we're back. So on Saturday, I've got to do that for the live show. You see, people keep putting adverts. I need a cut-off point. So on Saturday, we played Luton Town, and we needed a market improvement. We were three games without a win on the bounce. We'd got a bit of confidence back against Blackpool, much like we did against Grimsby. But with the changes to the team, you know that it wasn't the right players being confident, as it were. John, what were your thoughts going into this one? Potential banana skin, innit?
Yeah, it's you just never know, do you? And like you were saying earlier, with Masaba and Gassama, who are going to come, are they going to play because they've been somewhat wasteful in possession, haven't they? And I know that must drive Danny mad because obviously he's one of the managers that wants us to play that certain way and retain possession and that. So yeah, it could have been a potential banana skin, but I thought we handled. I thought we handled it well, really. To be fair, I just think it were a decent performance. To be honest, I'm going to put the last 4
seconds. I'm going to put the last 4 seconds of you speaking then into the credits next week. That's what's happening. You absolutely losing your mind, like a butterfly had gone past and you've gone, and then potato door frame painting. Absolutely loved it. Right, so, John, I'll get you out of it quick. I've got a graphic. Simon, talk to me about this. We've got Beadle, Valerie Palmer, Bernard for Maywo, Johnson, Shea Charles, Barry Bannon, Kabatsky, Windass, and Smith. Now, Smudge are getting some game time. There are balls going in the box. I've noticed a lot more. Smudge is putting himself about really well this season. I actually kind of like seeing him up there because it gives us an outlet to shit house if we need to. Starting as well, so he's going to get his elbows up. And if Smith's starting, there's kind of an inkling of the fact that we know what type of football we're going to play. Does that make sense, Simon?
bit more physical, bit more direct. Can I just go back to where we started when you asked John how you felt before the game? I think if anybody went on the socials, as you know, I like talking about the socials.
All of
Facebook and
Which is your favourite socials?
Which is your favourite one?
Well, there's so many. There's so many. It's like
name me three.
It's a plethora of. I can't do that. I mean, that would be I'd just be difficult. I'd be like John looking at butterflies. X, Twitter, MySpace.
Got them all.
Anyway, if you actually looked at, I think there was only Charlie who went for a win. I think, did you go for a draw, Dan?
I went for a draw.
And then the rest of us basically went, we're going to be shit and going to lose, So the team, when it came out, saw the team, thought, well, he's trying something new. I don't blame him. Smudger's been knocking on the door, I think, recently. I think Kabachi was a good shout as well. I think I thought against QPR, he was decent. To me, it was the next step forward. And in all honesty, when we kicked off, I thought I actually only watched the first half. And I thought we were a far better team. Far better team.
We were. There was a significant improvement in play as well, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And that was the thing, you see, because when you look at, I think we're going to go more direct, so I think we're going to go a little bit more stronger, more physical with Smudger being on. We didn't. We actually played some really good football. We played some really, really good football. Windass got involved. Kabachi got involved. Bannon. I thought Bannon had one of the best games this season. Absolutely, this season. Looked superb. I've always sort of wondered. I've been a little bit why, going back to the Blackpool game, he came on. He's come on, I think, in every cup game, and I've wondered why, because I've never really felt probably so much. Probably Grimsby, yes.
He's changed it. The Grimsby one, God Almighty, it was like bringing on an absolute. It was like bringing on Lionel Messi, wasn't it? All of a sudden, now we're playing football.
Turn the game round. Yeah. I didn't see the reason for bringing him on against Blackpool, but that's by the by. He's a guy who we need to save his legs, but he was
appearances.
Yeah, get them appearance fees in. Get
his appearance fees in, and get those two, him and Palmer, get them up that list.
Well, back to Palmer, I thought he was superb as well. I thought he was really good. I didn't have an issue with any one of the Wednesday players at all. I thought Charles is coming into it now. He can see he's getting game time. I thought he was very good.
Found his feet a bit, hasn't he?
Yeah. If I'm going to be critical of Smudger, who's just, and he's always been the same. He's trying to hold that ball up. The ball seems to ping off him. His first touch has never been the greatest.
It's normally an header onto the back beans on toast. If I'm honest, he's never had to trap it before.
So going in at 0-0 in a way, I was a little bit disappointed. In all honesty, I thought we should have been 1 or even 2 up, because they gave nothing. But also as well, and this is probably what leads into the conversation in the second half, is the referee really wound the crowd up, didn't he, with some of his decisions, and some I thought were fair and correct, which obviously in hindsight, when you're watching it on TV, you get that second look. But then some of them I thought were very, I might get that the other way, etc. And the Luton players were really getting on his back over the decisions he was making, which I'm actually quite glad I went out after that, because I think I not seeing the second half and then seeing the highlights afterwards. Yes.
Okay. So in the first half, I think Windass ballooned one. Could have been good defending. Could have been Windass absolutely spannering it over. I think I watched it back and I was like, Christ, Josh, your confidence is on its ass. And then Ash corrected me and said, actually, it was great defending. Where do you sit on it, Simon?
I think it was great defending and great keeping as well, to be honest. I think they both won. The defender came in from behind, the keeper came in front, and he should have scored, but then it was a great tackle, and the keeper did enough to put him off.
And I'm all right if there's a great tackle in there. I'm all right with it, Josh. Don't switch off just yet.
I thought he's had one of his best. He's one of his best games this season again, Josh, because he's sort of gone off the boil and looked a little bit ropey the last few games. So And then obviously people on the socials had a bit of a go at him, didn't he? And his mum stood up for him, and that never goes well when he gets his social media dandy up, does it?
It's like crack to me. I love it. Go on, Stevie.
I was just going to say, just on that point about Windass, I think he has that will have hit him hard because he's a proud lad, isn't he? The Sunderland performance will have hit him hard. And then the Leeds performance weren't great, and he's had to stop the rot. And I do think, to be fair, coming back into the side, I think he's been a little bit better over the last couple of games. From the bits, I didn't watch the full 90 live. I came in midway through the first half, so I played a bit of catch up. But the bits that I did see, I thought he was steady. I thought he was good. I'd agree with everything that's been said by Simon in terms of the performance. For me personally, the Luton game was about a team that, although they're not necessarily in the right position league-wise on paper, they are going to be one of the threats this year, aren't they? In terms of the teams that are going up in the top end, and I was a little bit concerned.
Do you know what, though, Stevie?
You
say that. I must admit I wasn't confident, but when I spoke to the geezer from the other side from Luton Town in Tuesday, they had their ass handed to them first game of the season. I think the only win they got was like a 1-0 win away at Millwall, which is where we got our backside handed. So you kind of go, this is going to be an old school championship game. There might be an element of, a couple of their big players like Townsend and Barkley have left, as you'd expect. You know what I mean? As they've got relegated, and their captain's not doing too well, bless him. So there's an element of kind of, are they the team that their fans might think they are, that we perceive them to be?
Just on that, I understand what you're saying. The preview show last week, I didn't realise how many players they'd lost. He must have listed 7 or 8 that have just got, he's gone back there, and he's gone back there, and this player's gone. But even so, and I'm not even going to go down that old trope of parachute payments, this, that, or the other. The bottom line,
they've got loads of money. They're in that gang now.
Yeah, they're one of them. But ultimately, this is a team that, 4 or 5 months ago were playing their trade and doing very well at doing so in the Premier League. And all right, you've lost a couple of players and what have you, but they just signed. I'll say it. They've signed Mark McGuinness. They brought Victor Moses in. They're talking about players that they're bringing in that, whilst not necessarily hitting the ground running, and whilst not necessarily they're almost in a similar phase to us in the sense that they've had a massive turnover in terms of their playing staff, and it's going to take time to gel. And I think that's something that we might need to sort of tip our hat to a little bit when it comes to looking at Sheffield Wednesday and where we are. Just because we've got the manager that we've got, and just because we've brought these players in and everything seems rosy at the moment, at the end of the day, I think there's a little bit of learning in the sense that we aren't quite the force that we thought we were going to be, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen in time.
It's still early days, but we aren't 1-4 now, and I think we're now in the relegation spots, aren't we? And I'm not looking at the league, but it's not really cause for concern. But there's a point where we need a big barnstormer to get everybody on side here. But anyway, is there any comments you want to pick out there, Stevie? Get them up there before I get on to the talking point of the game.
Yeah. Our friend Jay's been on. I don't have any complaints with the performance against Luton, even though none of their goals should have happened. We didn't have anyone at the back post with them on the second. Matt Strickland, just a quick tip to Matt Strickland, self-promotion there. He had Wednesday in the LMS, and I said at the time, that's a bold move. It was a bold move.
Hell, Matt, you deserve to be out. What's the matter with you?
Sharman, there's been some proper old school defending from both sides. And then just knocking back to Jay again. I've always been anti-VAR for the EFL, and surely everyone else is having absolutely horrendous decisions from referees, but I can't take any more. The refs are mounting you-know-what in this league. We're probably going to come to that in the next 10 minutes.
Let's get onto it. Let's get onto it. So I tell you what, normally I come to each of you talk about the open discussions. John, I'll start with you, but I want to make this an open forum. Let's get the dismissal and the alleged handball for Dijon Bernard. Here's a still of the goal on the screen now. I mean, all right, you're going to have to watch this on the big telly, and there's a lot of people now at home putting their phones right up to their face, but it was clear T-shirt line, weren't it?
Yeah, it's shoulder, isn't it? I mean, I said it in the chat. It couldn't be more shoulder if you had a parrot there. Do you know what I mean? It was. It's hitting right there. Right there, you can just see it. You call it your deltoid muscle. You know all about that from going to gym.
I wouldn't know, mate.
Yeah, deltoid muscle. That's not handball. If that's now handball, then game's gone because they've got to have changed the rule because that isn't handball.
I thought it was outstanding defending that he did. I mean, literally put his body on the line.
If you watch the replay as well, watch the Luton fans. None of them are jumping up saying penalty. No. None of them. Because it weren't. No. It hit his shoulder. So it should never have been sent off. It should never have been a penalty. Absolute disgrace. And that referee would rubbish all game. And the Luton players would drop in, and the fans wanted a foul for absolutely everything. And some of it, you're like, are these intelligent people watching this game? I know you're all like watching it, you know.
Fucking hell, John, all right.
You're all like homers watching. You want your own side to do well and stuff, yeah. But you can clearly see on half a dozen of those, they're not even a foul. So why are you screaming for a foul? You know, do you want to cheat? Do you want to get the decision? I don't get it. I mean, that ref was horrendous, by the way.
On the back of what you've just said there as well, if you look at that graphic, there's a geezer literally laid down holding his face, and no one touches his face. I watched it a number of times. Not one person touches him in the mush, and he's gone down clutching and screaming at his face because they knew this referee was there for fooling. Simon.
It was absolute shocker. So I'm walking around Tesco's, pushing the trolley behind my good lady, watching my phone, and I saw a red card. It came red card. And then Twitter, X, just blew up, didn't it? It just blew up. And within seconds, there was footage of the supposable handball. And you just look at it. And so basically then, if somebody gets hit anywhere on their body now, it's handball. If it's in the testicles, it's handball. If it's on the chest, it's handball. It's in the face, it's handball. It was a stupid, bloody ridiculous decision. And to be honest, we've seen, if we go back to QPR, where their players were sat on top of Beadle when they scored and the referee gave it. What the hell is going on with the standard of referees? Because that is bloody ridiculous.
It really is. It really is. And it's a couple of games now. And Stevie, you know, these two are clearly very angry. You're normally the pragmatic one. I'm looking for you for a bit of pragmatism, but then I also want you to fuck everything up that you've just said by putting on some comments from the interweb people.
I'm not quite as angry. It's that old cliche of I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. And the thing that makes me the thing that disappoints me is that decision has been given. And I think I posted something in the group with a diagram saying that the law states that if it's this area now, it's a new change into the law this season. I genuinely don't believe it was a handball. I'll say that. No. Whether or not it would have been struck off by VAR, I don't know. I think, without getting ahead of myself, I think there's another situation that happens about 15, 20 minutes later that causes me to have a little bit more
I've got an infographic for you, Stevie, if you want me to put that up here. So this is the control. This is their goal. This is their second goal on the 88th minute, very late in the game. Sheffield Wednesday played very well for a lot of this period. Now, if you watched Arsenal against Manchester City, it wasn't like they put their remaining players on the edge of the 18 and tried to keep out Man City for ages. You know, we played very well. And, you know, I think it was Kabatsky as well, just blazed one past the post at some point during this game as well. That would have been a mega goal, by the way. I'd have really enjoyed that one. But this one here, take us through it, Stevie.
It's for those of you that are sort of listening, we've currently got Carlton Morris almost holding the ball at elbow area as the ball's hit his arm and it's bounced down. He has killed the ball dead with his arm. Now we can talk about, we've got that all accidental, incidental. Is it going to impact or influence on play? You've got natural body position and all these cliches and discussions that you've got around the position of your arm. I am not disputing for a moment that Deshaun Bernard didn't go like that with his shoulder and he didn't motion with his shoulder, and he did, and it's hit him on the shoulder. I don't believe for a second that should be classed as handball based on the law. If you look at Carlton Morris, whether or not he's waving his arm right up above his head or not, the fact of the matter is the ball has hit his hand or his arm. It's dropped dead right on his toe. He has gone ooh, bloody hell,
Cheers.
look at this. Thank you very much. There's an open goal that I'm going to kick this ball into now. And he did it.
And they are. Did everybody else find, how have you got the nerve to celebrate that? Like, it really annoys
Yeah.
you. Like you just put your hand up and go. You wouldn't,
So,
you would tear off into the crowd knowing full well that you've just placed a ball at your own feet.
absolutely. And, the other argument is that there might not necessarily have been any sort of intent, and there probably wasn't intent from Morris. He was just in the right place at the right place at the right time, or however you want to look at it. The ball's hit his arm, it's dropped down, but that has impacted on the game. It's had an influence on the situation, and he stuck the ball in the net. And how the referee hasn't seen that, I can't get my head around it. I cannot get my head around it. To go back to the, I was just going to say, to go back to the point around Simon and John being a little bit more incandescent than I was.
Incandescent. Oh, that is lovely. Let me make a note of that one. That is
there you go. Stuff, there you go. Incandescent.
Down with refs.
I'm not as furious with my feelings around it, for the simple fact that if you take it as a holistic sort of situation, we were miles better on Saturday than we had been at Sunderland. We were miles better than we had been at Millwall. We were miles better. Better. I don't care what anyone says.
Holistic and incandescent in the same speech, Stevie. Come on.
I feel like I'm on countdown.
It is. Bloody hell.
That's
won the entire episode.
Brilliant.
That's probably why I am actually angry, because we deserved the 3 points. And that's why I am actually probably more angry than I've been if we got Jamily got a goal, which we didn't, because we haven't even mentioned Ban's goal, which was
Jamily. That's more our level. Incandescent. Jamily.
I was literally just about to say, what the fuck's Jamily?
Yeah, well, there you go. That's why I'm not at school. You should all be happy that I'm not teaching your kids and Stevie's. Right?
I tell you what, Stevie, if you just indulge me just for a couple of seconds, there's a couple of comments I just wanted to come in, and it was this one here that's from Liam that says, to be fair, my testicles are lower than my sleeve line anyway. So all blokes be in 40s. Yeah, we're there. And listen, if you're watching, Nan, I'm not a double XL in pants anymore. I've been going at gym. Stop getting me them massive Calvins. Get me a medium or something. I've got no support, Nan. I've got no support. And then the second one here, Simon, is Simon on all the socials in Tesco. Hold the back page.
Hold back page. Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed.
I was having to learn off the back of a packet of Kellogg's what all the socials were. So I was, that Kellogg's have on the socials too.
Hey, my memories of Kellogg's was a vinyl record with a song glued to the back of it. Do you remember them? And Monsters in My Pocket. That was Rice Krispies back in old Opal Fruit Snickers days. Go on, Stevie. What else have we got?
Dave Singleton tuning in on X. Below the elbow, not handball, but well above the elbow is. Ref needs anatomy lessons. Can't disagree with that. Matt Strickland has been on pointing out the fact that if that handball makes Masawa's handball look legit. He's also come back with another one that I was going to use. Apoplectic.
Yeah. Incandescent and apoplectic. What?
Who said that we go for the lowest denominator on this podcast?
And German Al, Stevie is right. We were miles better. Isn't all that counts right now? If only that were the case.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You've mentioned we're in the bottom three, but when we were 1-0 up, and I was just passing the dried food aisle, I was checking the
socials.
tables. No, I was checking the table actually.
You are so Alan Partridge right now.
I just Alan, and we were like 14th or something, 14th or 15th. I mean, that's the good thing is that league is so close at the moment. So nobody really in the middle's pulling any trees up, but but then so easy we come back in the bottom three, and that again is why I was so bloody annoyed, because that referee's inability to actually follow the rules of a game meant that we lost it. And it'd be what a great bonus would that have been if we'd gone away from Luton with 3 points.
With a 1-0 shithouse win, I've absolutely loved it. But I say shithouse, I've got the stats here as prepared by Mr. Spence. We won on shots, not so much on target. But in terms of block shots and possessions, and sorry, it's the other way around, isn't it? My apologies. They kind of edged it, but they always tell a weird story, don't they, Stats? Because there's an element of they were chasing it, so they're going to get more possession. They're going to rain the shots in, stuff like that. What do you reckon?
I have to come in, and I know it's not necessarily Wednesday chat. Your stat thing, and I know that you and Ash in particular have got a real thing about stats. I watched last night Man City versus Arsenal. Mm-hmm. And I genuinely think, and I'll say this, I said it at the time, I think Arsenal put in one of the most impressive defensive displays second half that I've ever seen.
I thought Arsenal from that game. I was embarrassed
last night. Outstanding. It was a defensive clinic. That's a point for another time. The reason that I mention it.
Hang on. Let me come at you there now. Let's sidebar here, ladies and gentlemen, because Stevie's Stevie's said something there, because I came away thinking, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd have been fucking raging. Reason being is you've got Man City, 4-time champions, playing at home. You're winning 2-1. You're a man down. They needed somebody with a bit of pace just to stand on the halfway line, but instead they played 5 and then a bank of 4 and nobody up front. So it was just wave after wave after wave, and it's not. And they've got Haaland up front. You know what I mean? They brought on Grealish and Foden. They were eventually going to get unpicked at some point. If they'd have just stuck somebody on the halfway line, just to keep Kyle Walker to mark him or something like that, that's what they needed to do. I was embarrassed if I'd have been an Arsenal fan yesterday. It's weird how people take away different things, right?
Yeah, it is. We're looking at it from different points, and I think somebody on the commentary was saying what Neville or Carragher was saying, why not just stick one up top? I wasn't agreeing or disagreeing. The way that Arteta got those guys set up, I just thought was, as a defender, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And they were within a gnat's breath, or whatever the saying is, of going to City and winning that game. And I think the moral victory there goes to Arsenal because of the way that they set up. We're digressing because we're a Sheffield Wednesday podcast. The reason that I mention it is because if you look at it, Kai Havertz and Jurrien Timber didn't complete a single pass yesterday. They didn't successfully complete a pass. If you look at the stats, I think it was something ridiculous. It was in the mid-80s that Man City second half had possession of the ball. Stats mean fuck all. Stats mean nothing.
To bring that full circle, it is kind of irrelevant in the end, isn't it? There's only one stat that matters, and that was 2-1 to Luton Town. And to bookend this, Holly's been on, and she said Gavin Ward's an absolute dogger ref. So that's nice, isn't it? So that brings it in. Now, as much as we like talking about Arsenal and apologising to our podcast co-hosts, we've got some personal news, and we need a favour from you. Back in 2016, when I'd only been doing this show for 6 years at this point, we got asked if we wanted to be part of this fledgling thing called the Football Content Awards, and we immediately dismissed it. And then since then, it's grown in size, and it's been, it's got a decent following now, and now it's become something of a bit of gravitas in the tiny little world that we're in terms of this online football community that we're in. Now, we've been nominated for a category. The category eludes me right now. Is it Football League content creators? Is that the one that we've been? Oh, hang on, I've got it here on a graphic. It'll tell me.
How do you not know? Best club content.
Best club content. Got it all for you. Thanks, man. It's right there. It's right there. You see, and that's what, and it's this behind the curtain look that makes us so agreeable to you fans out there. So, listen, what it is, we need a favour from you now. A lot of you have filled in an online form, which is the big job, and we've managed to get ourselves into this final round. Now, there's a next round of voting. Half of it goes to some judges. The next goes to how many votes we get. Now, I'm going to pop a QR code up on the screen, and that will take you to the voting screen. And if you can go scroll down, you literally just have to click the drop-down menu, click the Wednesday week, and press submit. That's it. It's about 4 clicks of your life. So if you don't mind doing that, we get to go to Tottenham Spurs Stadium and have a night out. We're paying to go, so it's it's got that written all over it. But we're going to have a night out in that London and see if we can represent Sheffield Wednesday. Also nominated are people that have been in and around our show, like Around the Grounds and Joe Cran. So if you're on there, give them a vote as well, because they're not in our category, so that's all right, isn't it? I'm going to sneeze. Stevie, keep talking, please.
While Danny's sneezing, just to endorse everything that said, it's a massive honour for us to be. He's putting me off. Massive honour for us to be a part of the final nominations, and I say this without hyperbole. It's having been associated with this podcast for as long as I have. It's such a good feeling. The vibes today in the group chat has been amazing, because a lot of hard work, and while I've got the floor, I will say these things. A lot of hard work goes on. And I know he's not on tonight. We've got the brains of the pod, Ash, who will do the podcast socials and will never put his name forward. He's done a lot of the heavy lifting. We've got the face up there of the pod, who, he's the guy. The rest of us
thanks to Ishmael at Turkish Facial Solutions.
the rest of us muck in as and when we can, but I can only attest to the fact that it's not been something that's happened overnight, and it's an absolute honour for me, and I'm sure Si and John would agree that it's great that we get to be a part of this podcast, and I just hope that based on output tonight, those content judges aren't necessarily listening.
Yeah, hopefully this is one they don't.
Tune in next week.
Tune in next week. Well, I'll have some new graphics and working.
The last bit. It literally, if you click on the link, it's shared on the social medias, all of the social medias. If you click the QR code, it'll take you to it. It's literally one swipe of your finger. It's click Sheffield Wednesday. Click the Wednesday week. Scroll down. Vote now. Click I agree. It takes literally 20 seconds. It's not going to cost you anything. If you're tuned in, you're involved, you're aware of who we are, and you think that at some point we've done something that's worthwhile, Easter egg drop, community funds, community initiative, and all of that stuff, as well as the hours and hours that we put into these sexy graphics and everything that we do on a Monday night and throughout the week, it means the absolute world to put us in with a shout again into the top 3.
Appreciate that, Stevie, because the feedback that I got from doing the intro for that was, why does Dan look like he's pissing vinegar when he sneezes? So, that's a lot better than the way I could have put it. But in the interim, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about VAR. Now, it's been floated this week that they were talking about bringing VAR into the Championship, and given the way that Sheffield Wednesday's game went against Luton Town, let's keep this to a 5-minute chat if we can. I think VAR is a good idea. However, I think we use it wrong. The fact that semi-automated VAR is available, and we had the arrogance of the British leagues the English leagues to go, we don't want that. That's a ridiculous thing to do. And then it went really well in the World Cup, and it's absolutely brilliant. It comes up with an immediate graphic. I don't understand why we don't use it. John, you're an American football fan like myself. Finns have been pished this season, and Tua Tagovailoa has taken another knock. But this is a game that's heavily involved with camera work and things like that. I don't think VAR goes down that route. What do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, our only experience of VAR was the Liam Palmer disallowed penalty, wasn't it, at Chelsea a few seasons ago. So we've never really had the pleasure or displeasure of being involved in VAR. So I'm torn, because it's all right. It'd been great for Saturday's game, wouldn't it? Because you would have liked to have seen like a ref go and have a look at a screen and see clearly that that's not handball by Deshaun Bernard. But it's all about interpretation again, isn't it? Who sat there in the trucks looking at the screens and deciding whether something is a penalty or something is offside, and getting the lines out and everything like that. And the top players will tell you it took a lot of fun out of their game, because they can't celebrate scoring a goal, because they never know if it's going to get reviewed. Each time they scored a goal, they're like, right, okay, let's get 5 minutes.
John, I'm normally 6 pints deep. I'm celebrating a corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So part of me is like, yeah, I do think it's inevitable it will filter down, but I'm not 100% sold on whether I want it or not, because I don't know. They said decisions even themselves out over a season, and it's a long season in the Championship. Maybe we'll just leave it as it is and just crack on. I don't know. I'm undecided.
John's on the fence. Simon, where do you sit with it?
The problem you've got now with the Championship is there's so much money riding on it, isn't there? There's so much money riding.
And you want the right decisions.
The Premiership's gone up another level this season with the Sky money and Sky Sports Plus and stuff like that. So relegation even into the League One, unless you're Birmingham City, is a huge financial issue. So there's that point, is the fact that those 3 points that we should have had on Saturday could be very much influential to where we finish at the end of the season in this league. So that is a huge one in regards, and also we're seeing such a drop off in the standard of refereeing in this league. But the other issue is what John alluded to, and I've been at a few foreign games where VAR is present and a goal is scored, and people just basically go, have we scored? Have we not scored? The celebration is taken out of it. I've watched a few Premier League games. To be honest, I don't really follow the Premier League. But, it just seemed to take that spontaneity out of it. You score a goal, that's it, you get on with it. But, mate, if we keep getting decisions like we're getting, and also we're not even mentioning the fact that we've not had a penalty in over a year.
Honestly, we'll do a good 20 minutes on it when that happens.
We could, yeah.
I'll go through every single motion on it. We'll play it back and replays and everything. We'll do a full-on special about it.
It's got to be different to. I think the VAR was originally brought in to spot the points which it's not clear whether or not he was offside or not to actually show or if it had gone over the line or not to show that somebody had got a fingernail over the line, over this line that they put down for an offside. And that's where we've taken it to the extreme. And then Sky have got hold of it and they've made another program out of it, haven't they?
Yeah, they actually do have a segment called Ref Watch as well, which I quite enjoy. So, yeah, we are going to steal that. We are going to have a graphic ready. Now, Stevie, let's go to some of the comments, because there's a bit of chat there about VAR. Ash has been on as well, said I heard we were talking about it. But yeah, shut up you, Ash, coming in here, giving all our time up and making us do things for charity. But Stevie, come on, where do you sit with VAR and what are the interwebbings saying?
So a couple of comments off the internet before I get
the World Wide Web information.
The World Wide Web. Matthew Moore will just get shafted by VAR as well. Chef Cam, Chef Cam. The problem with VAR, it's the same clowns in the control room as it is them on the pitch.
Great point.
A couple of people that are agreeing with it as well. Jay Blogs. I just want good referees, and if we can't get that, we have to have some kind of VAR. For me personally, I agree with you, Dan. Excuse me, Windy Pops. I agree with you. VAR, in principle, I think is the right way to go. I just don't think we're using it right. I don't think there's a consistency there. I think it takes too long. I think it takes away from the drama and the euphoria of the on the pitch and in the stadium.
It's kind of what we go for, isn't it? Like, because you could go to a 0-0 draw and have the best time and be on the edge of the seat the entire time, because it's got that spontaneity and movement and up and down and crests and troughs and all the rest of it. But if you've got to sit and wait 3 minutes for somebody to go, I think that was on his t-shirt line, but what's a new rule? And someone's rifling through the rule book to find out, and then we have the pantomime of somebody looking at a Microsoft Edge tablet. You're kind of like, come on, man. Just draw the line and let's get on with it.
I would like to know whether the rule changes that have come in terms of your offsides, the Wenger sort of it's you've got to be your body and so forth, what would that look like without VAR? And I'm not sure, how that looks. In terms of it filtering down and cascading down to the Championship, I think ultimately that will happen in the next 3-4 years. I don't think it goes any lower than that, because I don't think at this moment in time there's enough money to fund VAR as the infrastructure for VAR in League One or League Two. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's not there. But I like the idea, and you can look at other sports and the way that they use similar sorts of technology. I think you've got to get to a point for it to work properly. You've got to get to a point where one or two things happen. The consultation between the officials and Stockley Park, whoever it is that's running VAR, has to be more explicit, and it has to be there more instantaneously, like it is in rugby union. And I also kind of like the sort of the limit on challenges that they have in cricket. So give the onus to a player or the captain or the club. Right here, I'm going to use one of my challenges for this decision, and then that kind of makes it negates the whole. We are checking absolutely everything, because there are certain things that they look at and they go, right, they've had a look at it and it's done. And there are other things that they go, right, we're stopping the entire game to have a proper look at it. And at what point, there's almost a layer and a level to what we're doing in terms of, monitoring the VAR, the people that are monitoring the VAR, if that makes sense. And
yeah. There's been some great comments here. Sorry, Simon, just give me 2 seconds. There's been some great comments here. Liam, I think, has echoed what we've all said. 5 points lost in the last 2 games are pointing me towards VAR, but I can't stand it. Ruins the spontaneity, as Simon says. And then Jay Blogs has gone, Euro VAR was as good as I've seen so far. It really was. The Qatar World Cup, I thought it was very good as well. And then Sharman has pulled in a great point here.
That's a really good point.
He says, can you imagine that Peterborough game, if we had to wait for VAR, would have lost all momentum, bin it off, and concentrate on winning at the games? Just play football.
Yeah.
We're old school. We're old school.
I think two of the things that. No, I'm just going to say, I think as well, the trouble with VAR, the two of the biggest problems when you referring to VAR is obviously, as we've suffered on Saturday, is the handball rule. And also the offside rule, and those will always be subjected to some person's interpretation. There's no real clear guidance, is there? When is it not intentional? How can you ever say it's not intentional? Like you said, that guy, Luton, it's hit his arm, dropped perfectly for him, so he couldn't have laid it off better, and he's managed to score a goal. So, and that's not, if that goes to VAR, they're going to say, it's going to be one person interpreting it again, saying, is that deliberate? Did he get an advantage from that? Well, yeah, of course he did, but it's still down to one person, like you're saying, the officials on the pitch and the officials off it. So until they sort of clean up, let's say, the handball rule and clean up the offside rule. So let's say, right, none of this toenail rubbish, none of this his foot's offside. Make it half a yard. You can measure that. If you're half a yard, you've got a clear advantage.
In Holland, when they first introduced VAR, what they did, they had an area of uncertainty. So where they draw the line, if you were on the line was quite thick, and if you were on it, you weren't offside. There was a margin of error that they introduced, and I really like the way they did it, because you get people going, well, he's off an armpit offside. Well, it's not his armpit, it's his shoulder, so jot that down. And it's just toenail. Well, you can score with a toenail, so grow up. But if you've got this margin of error where the line's quite thick and you're in it, then I thought that was a good way of using it. I thought the Dutch got it really well. Simon, you can have the last word on VAR in the Championship.
I think it's become noticeable since VAR came in that the standard of refereeing has gone down.
Yeah,
I think we've seen across the whole board, top to bottom, Premier League referees all the way down into the EFL, and what it has created is that people hate making decisions. In life, people hate making decisions. There are people who can make decisions and people who can't, right? And it's created a breed now of linesmen and referees who it's easier to let somebody else make the decision, be it a computer with a line drawn on a pitch for an offside, be it, let's have a look at the video cameras again and again and again, where actually the decision is made in a studio somewhere with 5 or 6 people stood around it, and this is the problem we've got. And then what happens then is that those referees stop making decisions, stop being in control of the game, and that then filters down into the lower leagues. And we have noticeably seen poorer and poorer referees through the EFL. I can't comment on the Premier League, but in the EFL since VARs came in,
I agree with you, Simon. It's a huge societal problem that you've got a lot of people shy away from any kind of authority. I mean, back in the day, I think, people like Uriah Rennie was like a kickboxing coach or something, and David Ellery was the head of a high-end school. You know what I mean? People in high-power positions that weren't full-time referees that were paid to make decisions.
Yeah, they weren't professional referees. They basically did it for the love of the game, if anything. And then it was a great kudos to become a linesman or a referee in a European Championship or a cup final. That was a huge privilege to do that. And now it's developed, these guys, I don't know how much they earn, but I think it's a considerable amount of money. And that should push the standards up. And what we've actually seen is the standards fall.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. Now, that's the final word on VAR. We don't know, but as long as the rules are all right, we're all right. You know what I mean? Does anybody have any other business? Don't forget, if you haven't used the QR code in the middle of the screen, please do so and vote for the Wednesday week on EFL content creations. Let me get the wording right. I've got an infographic, haven't I? Sorry, Steve. Best club content creator. Go down to Football League and click the Wednesday week. Ladies and gents, it's been an absolute pleasure joining us this evening. Thanks a lot. And thanks a lot for voting us once again. It genuinely does mean the world to us that we're even considered to be part of this award. Now, if you want to work out how to get hold of us, make sure you stick around because Simon's going to tell you what all the socials look like. See you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there for podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.